Ryan Hodge, the Director of Education with MOBOT. So if you guys haven't gotten it already, get your MOBOT filled up with some water because we are getting joined once again by one of our awesome role models, Jesse. And Jesse's going to be coming on and we're going to be talking about some things related to independence in terms of, because it was just 4th of July weekend last weekend, we wanted to basically cover ways that we as people can figure out what our unique passions are, what our unique aspirations and goals are, things that make us individual and unique and independent, and how we can go about and become more well, more happy, more joyful, more giving to the world using those independent things that we find that make us unique. So without further ado, let's get our good friend Jesse on. If you guys have questions at any time, please feel free to reach out. There she is.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome, welcome. Good to be back.
Yes. Thank you for navigating some of the email correspondence. I'm sorry about that.
I'm like so technologically challenged. It's always my fault. So
It's all good. We made it. So I was telling our community what we were just kind of generally talking about with the idea of, you know, independence in terms of what makes us unique and independent, and how we can go about using those unique gifts to go and create more wellness, more happiness, more joy. So kind of a broad topic as we touched base on yesterday, but I felt like it was only fitting with everything going on this past weekend. So is there anything that you wanted to kind of kick us off with, or anything you wanted to chat about to start?
oh my gosh, there is so much happening right now. It's and I feel like it's also touchy, you know, and
Yeah.
it's a weird place to be navigating, but I think that it's so important to really find what you think is important and really stand up for that. And it's definitely not the time to be silent anymore. You know what
Right.
I mean? Definitely, if you've got something that you're passionate about, it's definitely time to speak up about it. You agree? Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
cute.
So, yeah, Independence Day is huge for us. We love this country, and we love what it stands for. And so it's very hard to see all the things happening right now.
Yeah.
So it's so hard, right?
Right. It's
We love
challenging.
America. So it's a weird place to be in, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think you definitely touched base on a lot of similar beliefs everyone's having. And as crazy and challenging as it is, I've always done my best to kind of come back to two things. Can I come back to a place of gratitude? Like, even though things are crazy, what can we still be grateful for?
Absolutely.
And secondly, what are the action steps that I or anyone else can take to then go forward and make better change, right?
Right.
So I was thinking in terms of, you know, piggybacking what you said, with everything being crazy, I am still very grateful that we live in a country where we're able to have these discussions, because there are countries and places where it's like, it doesn't matter what people think. It's just
Absolutely.
what we say goes. So the fact that we live in an amazing country that allows us to have our own freedoms of speech and allow us to have these differentiating opinions and come together, I think is a really, really good place to be, rather than the opposite. And how we can, I think, move forward is, you know, kind of the purpose of this discussion was, what do we as individuals find that makes us unique and us able to go out and serve people better? And I think you kind of touched on this for a bit. I was kind of hearing you say, like, for lack of better, to paraphrase, we need to know what our whys are, right? Like, why do I do what I do? Why do you do what you do? Why do if I feel a certain way about a topic, why do I feel that way about a topic? You know what I mean? So I think it all comes back to the internal whys of what we do. And in the times of where we are now, I definitely think that my why for having these kinds of communications, these kinds of forums, is I want people just to be able to have a different perspective and be able to process things from a different point of view, and maybe use that perspective to come up with some better decisions.
For sure. I think there's a lot of power in changing your mind after getting more knowledge, you know? And I feel like, just like what you said, finding out what our why is, I feel like, you know, for me, not as extreme as what's going on right now, but I feel like so many of us find our why and our message in the middle of some sort of mess.
Yeah.
So as soon as you are experiencing a problem or an issue, or something that it isn't settling with you, you find your message in that, you find your why in that. And I feel like, not related to what's going on in our country right now, because we could have a whole discussion on just that alone. But I think with people finding their why and finding what makes them special is figuring out, where did you struggle in your life? Where did you feel like you were missing something? Because that's where you can give to those people. You give, because you're not the only one. We are all humans, and we all are going through this human experience. And I think there's a lot of danger in thinking that we're the only ones going through something.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like, in relating it back to what we're going through right now, there's so much alienation going on with the social distancing aspect, and just there's so much division in our country right now that I mean, not only with what's happening, but like in regards to what I do, like new moms, there's so many new moms thinking that what they go through is they're the only ones going through it. And you know, that was me. I found my real message during a time when I was like, oh my gosh, where's the information that I need? Where is the support that that I'm not getting? And you know, and I had been in the fitness industry for so long and an athlete, and I had never needed that type of support before, and so I didn't know that it was needed out there. And then as soon as I went through my own really tough postpartum period, after having gone through that and trying to navigate that, and I still am, I feel like we're all navigating forever. I feel like there's that during that time is when I figured out this is what moms need. And with figuring out my own mess, I figured out my message that I'm so passionate about. And I feel like that's also a place people maybe don't want to go, you know, and I feel like, but that's also what the world needs right now, is the realness, the vulnerability, and more stories of people going through the mess, not just coming out on the other side and hearing, oh, you're going to get through it. But here's the steps I took during that really hard time, you know, and you know, I feel like there's that opportunity for a message during literally anything that you are struggling with, anything that you think the world needs. It does. There's a reason why you're going through whatever it is you're going through, and the world needs to hear it. There's somebody waiting for your version of that message to come through. There's never enough doctors. There's never enough, you know, all of these people. And so it might just take your special way of saying something for it to click with not just one person, but if it's one person. I said that in the very beginning of me coming and really putting myself out there without having all of the information or the education, but wanting to help moms. If I can help one mom, because what if I was that one mom that somebody made it click for? I think I'm worth it. And so of course, you know, if I can help one other mom go through this with more grace and more understanding and more love for herself, then it's worth it. And I feel like that's the mentality. Get down, please. I mean, you got to see what's happening over here. Like, there's
they're playing. Oh, I was like, I know what's going on. You didn't have to show. I got it.
Dangerous stuff over here. We've got gymnastics mats, but
there were so many points that you just touched on your little rant right there. Like, I wish I was writing down all the bullets. You said a couple of things that I was really into, one of which was like, literally I was listening to an audiobook this morning, and the author was saying, use your mess to find the message. And you literally were saying that in a different way, like multiple times. Like, so important for everyone to understand that, you know, we have our whys for what we do. And then we need to understand that, like you were saying, we're not the only person going through any problem. Somebody out there is going through a problem. So if you're that one person who can help that one person, it's worth it. If you help more than one person, it's worth it. So using your mess to find your message, understanding that you're going to talk to somebody other than just yourself. I think all these things are already touching base onto like that uniqueness of what, like you just talked about, how focusing on mothers and new mothers for that matter. And that came out of your own mess. And especially like with my background in movement dysfunction and helping people with injuries and chronic issues from dealing with chronic pain for numbers of years and other people with chronic pain, you get your message through your mess. So I think it's important for everyone to understand that like there is no necessarily good or bad in this world. There's challenges and there's peaks and valleys, and we use these peaks and valleys to learn and understand what we need to do to grow, right?
For sure.
So I feel like it would be super fun we can keep talking about whatever, but I thought it'd be cool to maybe give like a couple of ideas to people in terms of like, what are some things that you've done or gone through? Maybe it's a program, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a course or something that has helped you get more clarity on what it is your passion or what it is your mission is going to be.
Oh my gosh. So off the top of my head, my favorite book that, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like, okay, what I have to say isn't important, like it's not worth it, I'm too worried about what people think, the book Big Magic. Oh my gosh, it is so good. And it really just relights that fire inside, and you're like, okay, I've got to get this out. It doesn't matter what people think, and you don't have to have all of the information. One thing I love about social media, and there's, it's a weird double-edged sword, social media. But the one thing that I do love about it is that it gives people a platform to magnify the things that they love. You can really see what people care about when you take a look at what they're sharing. And it gives people a platform, even if you're not a chef, but you love to cook. If you're not getting paid to be a chef, you may be found by a chef or somebody in that field by the content that you're creating. And I think that's what is so powerful, is that, and I feel like there's so much judgment around people and what they decide to share. Like, oh, you think you're a model. Oh, you think you're this. Yes. And let them.
Yeah,
and,
it's their stuff.
Yeah, and it's so easy to unfollow somebody. And I follow so few people from even high school and college. I wasn't really a big fan of college or people my age for that matter. But it's a weird thing. Once you just like get rid of this like notion of of getting judged, or which is so hard. It's so much easier said than done. Absolutely. But with more going through the text that I did, like the book Big Magic, it's so much deeper. Your purpose here is so much deeper than what the people in high school thought. Yeah. Because you're not that person anymore. And I like to refer back to a butterfly, how they transform. My logo for Move With Your Love is a butterfly, because it's all about transformation. And you don't see butterflies hanging out with caterpillars. Right. Because they're just so far gone from what the caterpillars are. But if you never go through that very hard, maybe isolating, maybe alienation from the people that maybe don't understand what you're doing, or maybe are too scared to come out and do what they actually have in their heart because they're too afraid to get judged, so they judge you. Right. But if you don't go through that metamorphosis, that cocoon, you're not going to come out on the other side. You're going to stay a caterpillar, and there's plenty of room for caterpillars, let me tell you. But butterflies, they don't care about caterpillars. They're gone. They're looking at them going, you guys need to just go ahead and do the work so that you can see everything that we're seeing up here. And I feel like there's so many books. And of course,
didn't mean to cut you off. Who wrote the Big Magic? I hadn't heard of that one.
Let me grab it.
I was gonna say, we can always look it up.
Hold on.
I really like what Jesse was saying. Everybody out there who's a caterpillar, start to figure out how you can be a butterfly. For anyone still watching, I think something else to take away from that whole caterpillar and butterfly analogy too is if you haven't heard about crabs or heard about ticks, it's kind of that same idea of like those certain animals that or insects, whatever it is, that the ones that change, they change and go, but there are those insects that don't change and they hold everyone else back. Have you heard like crabs? There you go, exactly.
The crab that's trying to get out. You can't hang around those crabs at the bottom because they're gonna pull you back under. Absolutely, I know which one that saying is. But here is the book, Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear, and it's from Elizabeth Gilbert. She is the one that wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
That I was gonna say, I've heard of her before. That's awesome.
Yes, another book that I really, really love is Life by the Cup. Is this backwards for you?
It is, but I mean, you can see it.
And it's Inspiration for a Purpose-Filled Life. And what's really great about books like this is that this book is about a woman who, she went through a lot of things and she had a really hard life, but she started a tea company. And if you think about tea, you're like, oh gosh, what's a big deal? But that's the thing, is that it's a big deal to somebody. And starting a business, whatever business it is, when you're trying to, you know, find whatever you're passionate about and give that back to the community in a way that is purposeful, this type of book applies to everything.
Yeah.
And I love this book. I love the Big Magic book. So what's funny is I listened to a lot of the Rise content from Rachel and Dave Hollis.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
I feel a little iffy about them right now because of what they're going through and how they kind of led the community on. But I did take their live Rise Nation course, and it's helpful. And I actually got connected with a lot of other really great speakers that I think are awesome. And I will have to shoot you those and maybe in a separate thing so you can put it in the comments for this video. But I feel like stuff like that where they bring in a ton of speakers, anything that you're trying to just make yourself more knowledgeable and just growth. Just any type of growth. That's what we want to do. We're either growing or we're dying. So we want to keep growing and expanding, and it's okay to change your mind. That even things that you were very, very hard set on, it's okay to change your mind once you have more information. And I think that's super important because people are so steadfast to what they believe, and most of the time people get very, very defensive because they don't really know why they believe these things. Maybe it's because they've been told it and they just say it over and over, and the more you say something, the more you believe it. So when somebody goes against that, especially whether it be what's going on in the world right now, or whether it be you trying to explain why you maybe want to quit your job, want to quit college and go and do this whatever it is you want to do, people don't understand it. But here's the thing, is that they don't have to. They don't have to understand what your message is or why you're doing the things you're doing, because sometimes the people around you want you to stay small, as sad as that is. And it's mostly going to be other people that are going to want to hear your stuff. At least that's what I found in my case. You know, I have very, very supportive parents, and they've always said, you know, you find your passion and the money will come. You always just find what you're passionate about, and then you never have to work a day in your life. You love going to work every single day. And they're horse trainers. They live on a ranch, and that's where I grew up, on a horse ranch. And it has never been about the money. They always just go out and do what they love every single day, and they've always instilled that in all of us kids. I'm the oldest of 6. And so it's always been really, really important to find what you're passionate about, find your purpose, and you're going to have a really fulfilling life.
Right. That sounds amazing, and I think it's such an incredible thing that you were able to, you know, be brought up in a world where you had that kind of environment.
Yeah.
The sad reality is so many people are completely opposite of that, and for somebody to be watching this and say, you know, oh, just do what you're passionate about, might be so much more easier said than done, because they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old who have been taught subconsciously their whole life that you have to work hard for a living. You have to grind it out, right? So I think those 2 books that you just talked about should be probably great resources for people. I thought it'd be kind of cool. I'm gonna list off just a couple. We can kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
I wanted to basically at least start off with free resources, because I think a lot of people are kind of in that spot where they're not sure what they want to invest in.
Perfect.
So obviously, like you said, using social media to your advantage, following the Tony Robbins of the world, the Dalai Lamas of the world, the Jim Quicks of the world, and following those people that inspire you in whatever space you're kind of passionate about, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's finance, whether it's just mental mindset changing. So start off with those free resources, blogs and social media and email campaigns and stuff like that. From there, I'm a really big fan of books and audiobooks. Audible is a huge thing for me. So on top of the two resources that you just listed, I'm a huge fan of one book called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. This is a book written by a gentleman named Vishen Lakhiani, who started a company called Mind Valley. If you guys haven't heard of Mind Valley, it's an all online based, like complete mental, financial kind of like upgrade your human life program. And so they have all these different courses that you can take. So I'm a huge fan of that book, as well as his company, for resources in that world. And then, there's all these other books like what you were talking about. Tony Robbins has a lot of good books. There's just so many good books out there that you guys can please.
Ed Milet, before my mom brain kicks in. Ed Milet, have you heard of him? He's amazing. Who? Ed Milet.
I haven't. I'm going to write that down. Ed Milet.
He has a podcast called Max Out. It is, and he does all types of free stuff. His podcast obviously is free, but he brings on tons of visionary people, and I love listening to him. He's very inspirational and very big into this topic that you wanted to talk about, was that finding your unique thing that makes you special, and he always talks about how important it is to tell people that they are special and that they're loved and they're important, and just goes right along with what you're saying and what this whole topic is of our chat here. So I wanted to spit him out before I forgot, because my brain is small.
Ed. And then I think Start With Why by Simon Sinek goes along with everything we were talking about. That's a really good one for the whys of what you're doing. And then from there, guys, if you got the finances, go to a retreat, go take a weekend getaway. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody can, especially I think for people that know that they want change. If you know that you want change or you're looking for something, there is no better action than diving into something and immersing yourself in a topic, whether it's financial related or change related or mindset related or mother related, like whatever you're trying to do, immerse yourself in that topic. I feel like those are the main things I wanted to get across, because I know that this is such a broad topic. But I hope everyone can understand that without these foundational concepts, all the minutia of what we like to talk about with fitness and finance and all these lifestyle things kind of go under the water. Because if you don't have that good mental foundation, then everything just kind of goes in one ear and out the other, and your brain will automatically attract what it is you're subconsciously thinking about.
For sure, yes. Right?
So I felt like this would be a great opportunity, especially for someone like you who is so, understanding of these different dimensions and is really into this positive change and all this stuff. I thought you would be a really good person to tag team on with these different, try this, this concept.
Yeah, totally. One thing that I do love to do is, you said at the beginning, was that you love to come back to being grateful and having gratitude. And I find that at the beginning or the end of your day, if you take a moment to write down 3 or 5 things, little things that, every day you find happiness and joy in, oh my gosh, and then you go back and read them, you go like, oh, what happened this day? And it's such a nice memory jot, and it forces you to find the good in every day, even the days that are bad, even the days that are hard. And, like my daughter right now is walking around in my shoes. Like, that brings me joy. Like, that is cute.
Right.
And so it's so easy to find stuff like that if you really just take the time to look at it. And
exactly.
And I feel like, especially if you are somebody, like you said, the law of attraction, if you are thinking always about things that are negative, even things that you're trying to make positive,
yep.
but it's actually a negative, it can, which can kind of be confusing, but you really want to get specific about what you want to change and what, the good in your life and what you want to have in your life. You got to get specific. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's just habits. We get in a habit of thinking bad. We get in a habit of being like, oh, I stubbed my toe this morning, so the whole rest of the day is just going to suck. You know, and it will absolutely suck if that's what you are thinking, because every time something bad happens, you're like, gosh, I knew it was going to be a bad day. And so it does take a little bit of work. You know, nothing comes for free, but oh my goodness, but this is free. I know, she just came in hot.
Love it. So I think you were just quickly talking about you touched base on, you know, the mental things that we're saying to ourselves, and sometimes we mean it to be positive, but it doesn't come out positive, right? And I love that smidgen, just because that's something that so many people, from when I speak with them about this topic, is something that kind of flies over the radar, in the sense that if you're not very aware of what exactly it is you're saying to yourself, it can really throw a wrench in the puzzle. And my easiest example of that would be speaking from somebody who's dealt with pain and injuries and whatnot. I would, for so many years, go into my day saying, like, I don't want to hurt myself. And I want everyone to, I don't want to hurt myself is different than I am healthy and strong, or I am, right? So if I go into a training session and I say to myself, I don't want to hurt myself, I could very much be limiting my overall training session, because subconsciously I'm not going to allow myself to do the things that I'm scared of, right?
Yeah, totally.
Or another way to think about it is, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be hated. I don't want to be felt stupid. Somebody just wrote, identify those negative feelings, and we actually have to make the mental effort to say, I recognize this emotion. However, this isn't who I am or who I want to be / react. Brianna, that's well said. Yeah. Those conscious efforts, like you were just saying, Jesse, that have to be consistent, and you have to catch yourself, and it's not going to happen overnight, and you might get frustrated, but that's okay. Yes. Because as you said with the caterpillar, no change comes easily, or no change comes for free. You got to have a little bit of challenge to create that beautiful change into the butterfly that we want. Yeah, exactly. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And I feel like Brianna said a really important thing there is just, you know, being positive and looking for the good doesn't mean we just ignore the bad. Doesn't mean that it's not happening. It doesn't mean that we suppress those things. Also unhealthy. So, and I think that's a great tip, is to acknowledge those feelings and then kind of dissect them a little bit. Like, gosh, that really pissed me off. And then be like, why did that piss me off? Yeah. Let's dig a little bit deeper into that and dissect it until you're like, well, maybe it didn't piss me off. Maybe it's not really that big of a deal. And that's a positive, because now you've just de-escalated that whole thing. And maybe it's something else. Like I stubbed my toe. Like, why did that make me so mad? Maybe because I need to clean up. Maybe I know that I ran into that thing because I didn't put something away. And maybe I need to prioritize some different things to make it so I'm not stubbing my toe every morning, or whatever the case may be. But I think that's a really great point, is acknowledge whatever is upsetting you. And same goes with, you know, like how you said in the beginning, like talking about all of the hard stuff that's going on right now. Like when people are getting defensive, like, if something is arising in you that is making you like, no, that's not right. What I'm thinking is right. Right. Dig into that. Dissect that a little bit more, because that's how we grow. That's how we become more well-rounded, instead of just staying within our blinders and only talking to people that think the same thing as us, or going along with what the masses are thinking, because all of that is a dangerous path. All of that is not great. Excuse me. Yep. I don't think so. Leave it, please. I love it.
And I think the last little tidbit, just to piggyback on that, is like, for people who are kind of skeptical and are like, I don't really see how this is as amazing as people say it is. I don't think it's easy to recognize how these little thoughts and these little conversations in our head, how crazily they tie into everything. Yeah. So that the stubbing the toe analogy, if you do enough practice and you start to teach yourself how to change those mental dialogues, people don't realize that just that mental dialogue of like, oh, I stubbed my toe again, or oh, I'm you know, my life is so messy. how that correlates into everything else. Now their work is less messy. Now their relationships are less messy. Now their thoughts are less messy. So guys, these processes, as simple and weird as they are, can be so powerful. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with Jesse today, so that we can kind of deliver some of these ideas and help you guys think about this from a different perspective, and maybe have a more fresh, energized feeling about jumping into these concepts. So again, thank you, Jesse, for being such a great inspiration, for talking to me and babysitting your daughter at the same time.
That's we're a package deal.
Right. Hey, no problems. Is there anything that you also, we're about 10:30, so I don't want to go too much longer. Was there anything else in these topics that you wanted to bring up? Any final thoughts or ideas?
The last thing I want to say is just if you've got something on your heart that you want to get out into the world, just start. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the education, all the knowledge, all the anything. Just put it out there. And if something's wrong, somebody will tell you. And if it's right, somebody will tell you. So just start. Just today, make one forward step in the direction of where you want your life to go. And it's just one step after the other, one right decision after the other.
I love that. Act quickly, take one good step. People like Jesse are always here to help. I'm always here to help. You have communities of people out here who are here to help. So until we get to chat next time, which I hope is going to be in the future, please go over to Jesse's page, check out our website. If you guys need anything in her space of motherhood and maternity and fitness, please reach out to her, reach out to us. Thank you guys for chatting, following, and Jesse, thank you for meeting with me today, and take care of your little one.
Thank you so much, Ryan. We'll see you next time.
Yes, ma'am. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye-bye.